My man, Jack Grealish, is this his breakout season at Manchester City? Now, Jack Grealish last season, as we all know, was, I think as a City fan, I don't personally feel it was underwhelming, but I don't think he will admit he did not hit the heights that he would like to have hit. Definitely in terms of goals and assists and statistics in general, I don't think he got where he wanted to. He said it himself. He imagined himself before playing for City that if he was in a City team, he would get an abundance of goals, an abundance of assists, and it would just be an easy life for him. But then he arrived at City and realised there's a lot more to our game than what meets the eye. Pep's style of play is extremely demanding. It took him time to adapt. It took him time to get used to it and understand his role. And I think he did understand his role last season, possibly a bit too much. Pep wanted him to take more risks. He said he was afraid to take risks. Understandable, human nature. You get nervous at the big club. You get nervous when you're playing with the big dogs. So be it. But in pre-season, we saw Jack Grealish at his best. 2 games, granted, it's not a huge amount of work to base these opinions off, but he was our best player in pre-season. This guy was absolutely electric. He gave Haaland his first assist. He was taking man on. He was taking shots. He was creating stuff. He looked like the player we thought we had bought just under 12 months ago now. And it looked great. But then the Charity Shield came along and it looked very much like the Jack Grealish that we saw at the start of and the middle of last season. And you're kind of going, why can't you be like the way you were against Bayern Munich and against Copa or Club America? I don't know. I think there's a lot of factors that contribute to this, Joe, but I still firmly back my guy. You long-term viewers of the 1894 will know that I back my guy Jack Grealish to the hills. But what are your thoughts on this? We're coming into his second season as a City player. The expectations, Joe, are naturally going to be higher.
It's really do or die, isn't it, essentially? Like, it's make or break season for him. If he doesn't perform now, then the questions come in. Well, you look at last season, everyone going, well, you know, just give him a season to bed in. You know, it takes time for a Pep signing to gel with the squad and actually perform. We saw it with Mahrez. He's not the first. He won't be the last player that takes the season. But pre-season, you look at the improvements, you go, all right, maybe it was just his first season. Maybe he'll kick on now. And then you switch to Liverpool and it's like, same issues, same problems. It's not looking good. I mean, again, he has time to turn it around. It was Liverpool again. We've beaten the drum essentially of the whole, we've had a lack of pre-season, but the key was good in pre-season, so kind of doesn't really make sense. I mean, you cast your mind back to Aston Villa, last game in the Premier League season last year. He's doing interviews on the pitch for Sky, and he's saying, you know, he himself, his standards, he didn't think he hit his standards, which obviously it's clear to see he didn't, and he could offer much more. But he said himself the reasoning was, was just afraid. He didn't have the confidence to, you know, play the right way, play the way that he wants to play. He said he didn't think he took enough risks. He said he thought he played it too safe. And he thought when he was training with all these world-class players, because no disrespect to Villa, but they don't have the caliber of players we do. They don't have these like 11 world-class players, you know, week in, week out, going for every single trophy. He's never experienced that before. So it was almost a shock to the system of, I can't really give the ball away because no one else does it. So I don't want to be the one that always loses the ball and potentially lets the team down. But he has to do it in his position. He's a creative player. He's got to make an impact on the game. That is his role. We've brought him in to make an impact on the final third. Of course, he's more of a creator than a finisher. But at the same time, you know, last season he didn't play with a number 9. A bit underwhelming. He's now got a big 6'5" number 9. He's got someone to hit, and it just seems like the delivery wasn't there. I didn't really see him try and get the ball into the box. I think he just needs to take more risks, whether it's confidence, whether it's just someone needs to get into his head that he's allowed to lose the ball, like it's not frowned upon, he's going to lose it. The risk versus reward situation, you know, has to be in his head. Well, listen, you're going to have to take risks. You're going to have to take risks this season to reach the levels you want to get at. Don't be afraid to lose the ball. Don't be afraid to make something happen. And we didn't see that against Liverpool. We saw it in pre-season. The pressure was off. Not a televised game. No one cares about the result. Everyone was just focusing on the performance, and he was essentially allowed to roam free and do whatever he wants and play his game. And he played his game, and he performed really well. But then you cut back to the competitive football. Liverpool, complete turnaround again. You know, one step forward, 2 steps back. He's gone back to last season. He just looked like he was scared to give the ball away, because we know Liverpool's quality. They know that. I think everybody knows that if you give the ball away to them, they're a high pressing team. If you give the ball away, they can really hurt you. And he didn't want to give the ball away. I think he just needs to let loose a little bit, stop being too harsh on himself, and just take those risks, because I guarantee you, if he takes the risks, we will see how good of a player he truly is.
I think what we're gathering about Grealish is that he's very much a mentality player, if that kind of makes sense. It may not make sense, but he relies on confidence, and he relies on his mind space being in the right place to look his best. And I think that's perfectly normal. We've had plenty of players like that over the years. We've had Raheem Sterling was very much a confidence player. When you had Sterling at high confidence, there's very few wingers in world football better than Raheem Sterling. And I think with Grealish, it is a case of Pep needs to get into his head that we want you to take risks, we want you to take players on, and we saw glimpses of it against Bayern Munich. That Grealish clearly has a decent understanding with Erling Haaland, and all the footage we've seen from inside City and training clips and that sort of thing is that he's forming a good friendship with Haaland, and naturally so, Grealish will want to latch onto that and build chemistry, build a dynamic duo with Erling Haaland. Likewise with other players. But if Grealish really wants to solidify his place on that left wing, and there was a point during pre-season where I was looking at him saying, you know what, Phil Foden could struggle to get back onto that left wing. That doesn't mean we take Phil Foden out of the team altogether. It just means he might be competing with Bernardo or even De Bruyne for a midfield role. But I was kind of going with Grealish. Wow, he's leveled it up, but he does need to up his goal contributions, and that's just the way it is. When you play for a team challenging for everything and wanting to win every single game, and you're a creative player and you're playing in the attacking areas of the pitch, you have to improve you have to have a good goals and assist record. Essentially, your stats have to good. If your stats have to be good, you have to pass both the eye test and the stat test. Which I hate to say those kind of phrases, but you do at the highest level. But with his performance against Liverpool, am I going to take that too seriously? I think you can look into it a lot like we have and say maybe he's gone back to being the way he was at times last season, or else you can say it was just a case of the whole team was poor. The whole team was poor. Generally, our best players, our most consistent players throughout the last few years of success, we're all poor. De Bruyne was very poor. Haaland, I don't know if you call him poor, but he wasn't given the service he wanted. Diaz was poor. It was one of those performances, and you can't put that down to Jack Grealish. If they're all playing poor, how can you expect Jack Grealish to flourish? Time will tell. It's a case with Grealish. Time will tell. I firmly believe. I trust the process. I trust Pep. I trust the decision making. And Pep rarely gets these things wrong. He's brought Mahrez in. He's brought Gundo in. He's brought Cancelo, Rodri. All these players never hit the ground running. It's very rare you see a player under Pep hit the ground running. And this is the season, I believe, and I want you to give your own opinion now, your own prediction, Joe. I believe that we are going to see a 20-25% more aggressive, more ruthless, take the shackles off version of Jack Grealish.
I think so too, but at the end of the day, it's down to him. It's down to whether he decides that, you know what, he is going to take these risks. He is going to essentially change his game. He can't play the same way that he did when he was at Villa. He can't do that. He's not the main man anymore. I think he's also got to realise that as well, that not everything's going to go through him, so he doesn't have loads of chances to make things happen. When he gets the ball, he has to make something happen every single time, or most of the time that he has the ball, because he's not going to get it every single time. Again, like I said, he's not at Villa. He's not the main man. I think his versatility is only going to help him being able to fill out in multiple different positions. That's going to help him really get a chance to just essentially play more. And I think also, again, I've said this one before, him and Mahrez, for me, they can't play together. Simple as that. They cannot play together on the wings. We can't have both of them on the wings. I think Foden this season just has to be really important, because he gives you that, you know, other option on the wing. He gives you something a little bit different. You know, on the left side, he gives you natural width. He's got a bit more pace about him. So I think maybe it would have been slightly different if there was someone on the other wing compared to Mahrez. I think that I wouldn't judge him on West Ham either. I think that's another game where we could be a little bit rusty. We start the season slow. With these are things that we've been saying for ages now. We seem to do it. I think you're looking at 2-3 games in the season. That for me is my point of, has he changed? And if he hasn't changed, then, you know, he just can't get in the team. It's as simple as that. It's on him to make those changes to his game that get himself in the team, because I'm sure he wants to play every single week, but there's nothing that Pep can do really apart from, you know, tell him these things, tell him to take the risks, tell him exactly what he wants from him. And at the end of the day, we saw last season with Pep saying that he was more than happy with everything that he was doing by his goal and assist output. Like, they didn't really matter to him. He was happy with him. I don't think he truly was. And I expect Pep to be onto him and saying, look, you're going to have to make a few changes because that's the manager's job.
Yeah, look, the first season syndrome, if you want to call it, should be out of the way now for Grealish. He should understand what is expected of him and what he should be doing. I think he will. I think we saw enough of it, even towards the tail end of last season, along with pre-season so far this year. I know there was only 2 games, but we saw enough to know that he can do it. He can. It's in him. It's not a case of now, can Jack Grealish do it? We know he can. It's about getting it out of him. I think time will tell, and I expect all City fans to get behind him and support him, because he is going to be, I predict, this is even me taking my Grealish loving hat off for a sec, I really think he's going to be a huge part of this coming season, and any success we have, he's going to be integral in that. I really, really believe that. Now listen, do me all a favour if you would. Hit the like button, get involved in the comments, let us know your thoughts on what's next for Jack Grealish. What is this season going to look like for him? What do you expect of him? What do you predict of him? Me and Joe both predict that he will come into his own. He will flourish. He will get better, and we will see him taking those risks and being more ruthless with the ball than he was in previous times. We are so close now to 3.1k on our pursuit of 4,000 subs. If you would hit the big red subscribe button and help us out in that journey, it is massively, massively appreciated. Do us those little favours, and we'll see you tomorrow with the first preview of the season, West Ham away. We can't wait for you to see what we have to say. Good night and God bless.